Stay closer, I have some for you. You know, Annie Laurie was supposed to be here, Annie Laurie Gaylor, and she really was looking forward to coming. She was enjoying interacting with Conrad. We love you, Conrad. Yes, we do. By the way, the man who wrote Bye Bye Birdie, Charles Strauss, is an atheist. He's still alive, he's in his 80s, and we had him on a radio show, and he talked about that whole thing. But Annie Laurie also wanted to be here because she loves the topic, and she also is very sensitive to equality, gender equality. There should be at least one woman up there on a conference about skepticism, and she was looking forward to representing. She gives talks about women's issues, and you can see some of her books in the bookstore. Her book, Woe to the Women, The Bible Tells Me So, and her book, Women Without Superstition. But she wanted me to give something to Conrad, so, Conrad.
It's not a punch in the face.
It's not a punch in the face. This is kind of new. This is the Freedom from Religion's brand new de-baptismal certificate. And Annie Laurie worked really hard on this, and Katie and myself. It took about 2 months to get this together. But this is an actual official certificate signed by me, a former clergy, and with an official seal on it. And Conrad, this is for you to take and frame and to prove to the world. Were you baptized?
I was.
Oh, yes. There you go. And for an extra $10, we throw in a hairdryer. So. And then. And on the certificate is a quote from Robert Ingersoll that says, "With soap, baptism is a good thing." She also was really into the issue of the National Day of Prayer. America doesn't have a prayer, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But first I want to say, you college students, how would you like $2,000?
Yes.
We have an annual college essay contest. We have 3 of them, actually. We have one for high school seniors, one for college students, and then we have a third one for for grad students who are 25 and older. And first prize is $2,000. And if you're a good writer, you have good chances because we only get a few hundred every year, and half of them are really crappy. So, I mean, they just dash something off and they think send it in hoping instead of actually working on it. So if you have any writing talent at all, go to our website, and then there's a place up here. Well, you can find it. Student essay contest that explains what the terms are. And I think it's the June 1st deadline. So, and it's just cash. It's just cash for we presumably you will spend it on your college education. Sometimes beer can help your brain too. If you drink that. And I want to show you something else that we just unveiled. It's our, why don't I just type it in here? If you guys have your own laptops, go to ffrf.org/out. FFRF's Out of the Closet Virtual Billboard Campaign. We've been putting billboards up all over the country for many years on various topics, probably 20 different types of billboards, but a couple years ago we started a virtual we started an Out of the Closet campaign where people's faces and their own messages put on a billboard. We did it in Madison, Wisconsin. We had 12 in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we have a bunch going up in Columbus, Ohio, and maybe we could do it here. What it is it's your face, it's your message, it's on your billboard, and you can come here to this application and build your own. You pick your background, you pick your face, you put your picture, think of a punchy quote that's going to change the world.
David Fitzgerald's is great.
What is that?
David Fitzgerald's is great. Yeah. Atheists are sexier.
Atheists are sexier, okay. Let me see if I can get in here too then.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
You can see some of these here. Here's some of here's just a few. We started last week with this, and there's more than 2,000 now. So where did Noah keep the termites on the ark? That's Jeannie Wheeler. Emily Pendleton, I am against religion because it teaches us to be satisfied with not understanding the world and the people in it. Here's a family, Tom Roche. Benjamin Berthold, who's a former preacher, by the way. Reject dogma, choose reason. A firefighter, if prayer worked, 911 would be a church hotline. Proud to have served our secular nation, Matthew Smith. Mitch Kale from Hawaii. Here's Grace Quiroz. This is what an atheist looks like. Religion is fairy tales for grown-ups. Anyway, there's more than 2,000 of these. Here's the military. And we're noticing the diversity. Which God do you not believe in? Me too. I believe in good, not God. So go to ffrf.org/out and think of your own and join the Out of the Closet. And we're going to pick one or two of these to actually go on a real billboard somewhere in the country. So if yours is one that's picked, it might actually go up on the side of a highway somewhere, where it could be target practice for some people. Let's see, we also have well-known free thinkers. In fact, the very first billboard we got was from Richard Dawkins. Here's Daniel Dennett. It will be great looking back at this campaign in a few years and marveling that this was such a big deal. Here's the end of lip service about God. Edward Sorrell is the famous cartoonist. He does a lot of the New Yorker front covers, you know. He does a lot of that kind of loose but fun cartooning. How come God only talks to lunatics? Daniel Everett, the famous linguist, who was a missionary to the Amazon, and this tribe that had never had a single convert, and they finally had one convert, it was him. He became an atheist, talking to this Amazonian tribe. It's a great book he wrote. Rebecca Goldstein, her book's out. Richard Dawkins, faith is one of the world's great evils, comparable to the smallpox virus, but harder to eradicate. Stephen Pinker sent one, morality comes from reason, not dogma. Natalie Angier, she's the science writer for the New York Times. Religion is the opiate of the masses, and we know you should never give drugs to kids. Peter Singer, the ethicist. It's interesting, the world's most famous ethicist is an atheist, isn't that something? I see no more reason and I feel no more need to believe in a God or gods than I do to believe in fairies. Peter Atkins, the well-known Oxford chemist. Disbelief opens our eyes to reliable wonder. Sikivu Hutchinson, her book Moral Combat, about the problem of race, religion, and identity. God's not my co-pilot. In a prayer cult nation that parades religious dogma as true morality, coming out as an atheist may be the final frontier. And then Greta Christina. Reality is far more important and far more interesting than anything we can think of about it. So that's just a few of the 2,000 that come in. And you're welcome to join and become an out of the closet. It's not just atheist, you can pick agnostic, humanist, rationalist, Pastafarian is on there. Yes. And if you have any other type of label that you want to use that's not on our list, just put it after your name and we'll go from there. So, So, how many of you were here last night, yesterday when we were picketed? Did you see the Westboro Baptist Church people out there? Weren't they beautiful? I thought that was amazing what you guys did. Did you see me go up and get my picture taken in front of him? I went right in front of the group and stood there like this. And I think it was his son. Is that the guy? Was that his son was there? And I went up and I said, by the way, I'm the atheist who's doing the debate tonight. And he said, congratulations. Yeah, and then, so I wanted my picture taken. I have a picture of me doing I do this all over the world. I stand and embrace the world for free thought. And then he started quoting Bible verses at me. The fool had said in his heart, there is no God. And I turned back and I said, oh really? You know, Jesus said, whoever says thou fool is in danger of hellfire. Did you know that? And he said, well, the fool had said it. And he's going on and on. So anyway, yeah, I think it's an honor. It's an honor to be picketed by people like that. And if someone tells you you're going to hell, say, thank you for the compliment. All the great people are in hell. Who wants to go to heaven? You know, who wants to... It's like what Mark Twain said, heaven's for climate, hell is for society. Hell is where all the fun, all the good people, the Mark Twains and the Margaret Sangers and the Elizabeth Cady Stantons, the people who really made a difference. And who would dare say, like Rick Warren says, that without God we have no purpose in our life? You know who Rick Warren is? That purpose-driven life guy who wrote the book. Do you know what, if you read this whole book of his, you know what it comes down to? You want to know what the purpose of life is? Don't bother reading the book, but if you do read it, it's to know God, to tell others about Him, and invite them to go to church with you. That's it. That's why we were put on, that's why the whole universe was created. That's it. So, I wrote a book that counters that, which is it's called The Good Atheist. And it's good not in the moral sense of good, but good in the practical sense of good, doing good things, which counters Rick Warren's claim that there's the purpose of life. And the whole point of my book is to announce the very good news. I used to think as a preacher that I had good news to give to the world. But the truly good news is that there is no purpose of life. That is great news. That is news worth applauding. Because if there is a purpose of life, that cheapens life. That makes us secondary. That makes us subsidiary. It makes us servants. It makes us, how do I fit in? And most religious people have this mindset, how can I please the Master? How can I please the Lord? How can I follow? What is my place? How can I in my life someday, and you say, welcome to heaven, you good and faithful servant. It's a secondary. If there's a purpose of life, that means we are tools or slaves or servants of somebody else's purpose. So if there's a purpose of life, that's not really a purpose, that's someone else's purpose and not your own. Every slave master likes to tell the slave, yes, you have a purpose. Do a good job. Fit in, submit. And if you read the Bible, it's full of that slavery. Paul calls himself proudly a slave of Christ. That Greek word doulos just means slave. And many of the other people say to submit to his service. Well, there's no purpose of life. And it's great that there's not. But that doesn't mean there's no purpose in life. As long as there's problems to solve, as long as there's knowledge to gain or inequality to correct or oppression, or as long as there's hunger, or as long as there's some kind of a problem in the world and you find it yourself, then there's purpose in life. So the second half of my new book gives brief profiles of more than 300 people, including Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Who would dare say Elizabeth Cady Stanton had no purpose in her life? There was no purpose of her life, but there was purpose in her life. The radical notion that women should participate in their own government, right? What a crazy idea that women should be full human beings on this planet. And that in 1920, since 1920, it was that we never have had a truly full liberal democracy until that time in the world. And now she worked for 50 years on that. And then there's another 300 actors, fashion designers, philosophers, revolutionaries, reformers, artists, songwriters, which is my specialty, studying composers and songwriters. The man who wrote Somewhere Over the Rainbow, did you know that? Leah Parker? Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the #1 movie song. He was an atheist. He wrote a lot of poems too, and we got to reprint some of his poems in a book called Rhymes for the Irreverent. My favorite one is a little poem he wrote called Lead Kindly Light. Where Bishop Patrick crossed the street, an X now marks the spot. The light of God was with him, but the traffic light was not. That was Jim Harvard, the guy who wrote Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and he wrote April in Paris. He wrote It's Only a Paper Moon. By the way, I got to play It's Only a Paper Moon on the piano, accompanying Butterfly McQueen. You know who she was? Butterfly McQueen, the actress. She played Prissy in Gone with the Wind. She had to play all these little slave girl roles. I don't know nothing about birds and no babies and stuff. But you could tell from her eyes that she's really, really intelligent, and she was. She hated being typecast. She was a lifelong atheist, and she was always into cleaning and making sure the streets were clean and making sure the world was a beautiful place. She died about 10 years ago, tragically. Her dress caught fire while she was cooking. But she actually knew Charles Strauss, the guy who wrote Bye Bye Birdie. They did some touring in the South. And two young atheists into music, she couldn't go into the restaurant. He had to go to the restaurant to get her food and bring it out to the car for her during that time when they were traveling around. But in any event, songwriters, composers, how many people sing Brahms' Lullaby to their children? Everybody sings that. Johannes